Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the homestead. It has been a couple of months since we've posted anything on YouTube. I am so sorry. I have to apologize for that. There have been some things here on the homestead that we just haven't been doing because I kept wanting to do a video on it when I do it. So unfortunately, I just kept procrastinating and putting things off. So we had to take a little bit of a break just to kind of get caught up. But I want to let you guys know what's been going on our homestead since the last time that we've seen you. So as you can see behind me, we have a garden this year, which I am so excited about. If you've been with us for a while, you remember that we turned this yard really from a forest into a garden. So it took a little bit to for the soil to kind of get caught up and just get healthier. We put a bunch of mulch in here last year, and it took a little bit for that to decompose and really start enriching the soil. Also, at the end of last planting season, we had some chickens that we had here on my left side that we were raising in a chicken tractor, and we moved them across the garden. So they did their job fertilizing. On my right side of the garden, we used rabbit manure to fertilize this side. And then at the end of the year in November, we seeded clover over the entire garden. So we obviously pulled back the tarp before we raised the chickens, and we seeded red clover. And throughout the winter, this entire garden was just green, lush clover. It actually looked really beautiful. But then at the end of January, my husband John tilled all of that clover into the soil, which also enriched the soil. Plus, clover is a nitrogen fixer. So look at the difference in my garden this year. We had such a hard time last year. I was just thrilled that we grew some things. We had some watermelon, some cantaloupe, a little bit of zucchini, and some tomatoes last year, some hot peppers. Not a lot, but I was pleased because there was some progress, but there were just areas of the garden that were not doing well at all. In fact, most of it was not doing well at all. So we did some soil testing, found out that it was lacking nitrogen. In areas it was too high in manganese, just an imbalance altogether. So basically it needed some compost, which is where the chickens and the rabbits came in. They did their job. And then also, obviously, the clover helped with that. So one of the things that I could not grow last year was green beans. I seeded a few rows and they all died a very terrible, tragic death. Apparently too much manganese in the soil. Green beans don't like that. So the watermelon in that area did well because it doesn't mind manganese so much. So that was okay, but I want you guys to look at this behind me. I have 6 rows of green beans, and each row is about 20 feet long. We have already picked this year, we've already harvested about 33 pounds of green beans, and they're still going. Our tomato plants are speaking for themselves. These are taller than I am already. We did plant them a little bit early this year because the weather was already getting warm, and so I planted them towards the end of March, which I normally wouldn't do that. Actually might have been the middle of March, but yeah, it was definitely sooner than we did last year. But look at these, they're taller than I am, and they are producing so much right now. I am just so thankful. Hopefully they won't get attacked by bugs. That's something that we've had a lot of problems with this year. Unfortunately, when you plant a new garden, you're going to invite a lot of things that love your garden as much as you do. So we've had some problems with cutworms. We've lost a few plants to cutworms, unfortunately, and we've also had some problems with cucumber beetles this year. So the plan for us moving forward on how to manage that, at the end of this year, we plan to get some nematodes. That's a powder. It comes in the form of a powder. You mix it with water, spray it in your soil, and those nematodes will feed on the eggs and the larvae that other bugs lay in the ground, which will hopefully reduce the population of some of those pests in the springtime for us next year. We will also have to start our seeds indoors a little bit sooner so that those plants are bigger when we plant them in the garden, and that'll give them a better fighting chance. And anything that we seed into the soil, we're going to try to cover with some netting to just prevent moths from getting to them, laying their eggs in. So there's some things that we're planning on doing a little bit differently next year. This is still, we're learning, guys, so stick with us. But so far, I would say, thank you, Lord, our garden is doing great, and I am so pleased with it. One of the things that I've never been able to grow successfully has been potatoes. We've made a couple of attempts. Nothing really panned out for us. The only thing that came close was some potatoes that we tried growing in just grocery sacks, the cloth grocery sacks. Those actually did well, but we planted them too late in the year and the frost came, and so we had to harvest them early, so they never got really big. So what we tried this year is putting them in these plastic bins, these plastic containers. Obviously they have holes in the bottom so the water can drain. And we fertilized the soil really, really well with some homegrown compost and some rabbit manure. Unfortunately, with potatoes, you really don't know how they're doing until you harvest them. These are about 3 months old, so they are definitely ready to be harvested. I will do a video on that, and you will know how they're doing when I know. So if it worked, great. If it did work, then we plan on extending this system throughout the entire front of our garden here. We'll get more bins because if this works, this is a really easy way to grow potatoes. If it failed, I don't know. I guess I'll ask you guys for some advice on what we can do better. But so far, I mean, the plants themselves got huge, so I'm really hoping that they're doing great. And while we're on the topic of things that are doing great, did you know that elderberry bushes, trees, could actually get that tall? I think those, and I don't want to lie, but I think they're about 15 feet tall already. I don't even know. We're going to have to probably just lop off those branches and trim them down to even be able to harvest those. They're ginormous, and we'll definitely need to get that managed and under control, but they just really took off and got away from us, and I had no idea that we'd get that big. So yeah, apparently elderberry bushes in the garden, they're doing great. Who would have thought, right? A couple of things that are not doing so great are, one, our bell peppers. They're okay, they're alive. We're finding out this specific location in our garden is just not ideal for them. It's a little bit lower, so it holds moisture a little bit more. Bell peppers don't like sitting in water. The watermelons on this location last season did really well for us. So I'm thinking moving forward, we'll either continue to plant watermelons and cantaloupe on this location and put the peppers on higher ground where they'll have a little bit better drainage. Or we may just put a greenhouse on the spot and just abandon this area altogether. We'll see moving forward. But for now, they're still producing. I can't complain about that. And I'm hoping also that in a couple of months when the weather gets drier here in Houston, which that can definitely happen, that these will start taking off a little bit better. We'll keep you guys posted on that. And unfortunately, our cucumbers, we had to seed these a couple of different times. Cutworms just destroyed them the first time, and so actually it was 3 different times that I had to reseed them. They finally sprouted, and then they got inundated by cucumber beetles. So those have just been stunting them. They're not producing really anything. They have a lot of potential. There's a lot of blooms on them. I think I see one little cucumber hiding under there, but they just haven't started producing. And for us here in the Houston area, unfortunately, it gets hot really fast. So once the weather starts really getting hot, these are going to start turning bitter. So I don't know that we're going to get much of a cucumber harvest this year. I also tried seeding corn this year. I seeded 6 different rows. I was trying to seed them at different times and have it harvested different times. And unfortunately, we lost most of them to cutworms. So I just abandoned the corn altogether, seeded some pumpkins and some butternut squash in this area. So we're just gonna let those kind of take over this area of the ground. And we may or may not try corn in the future. We'll just have to see. Well, hi there, Daisy. You wanna say hello to everyone? She's trying to climb on me while I'm talking. Our zucchini plants, wow, what can I say? We have harvested so much zucchini this year. We're going to be freeze drying that and preserving it so that we can have that to add to our soups and casseroles in the fall and the winter time when we don't have as many fresh veggies. But I'm really happy with our zucchini plants this year. Last year I seeded zucchini in the same spot, the same location. We had 2 plants at the end of the rows that did okay. The rest of them just nothing. And this year, look at the difference in the soil. I mean, it took a couple of weeks for them to really pick up and start going, but they're just doing beautifully. I'm so happy with the difference in the condition of our soil this year versus last year. And if you're wondering what the story is with the sunflowers behind me, basically, if there's a spot in the garden that I don't have anything seeded or I don't have anything planned for that spot, I will put sunflowers. Two reasons. Number one, they're beautiful. Number two, they attract pollinators. I guess the third reason, the seeds, we can feed them to our chickens. So it's a win-win, and they're just gorgeous. I love them. These are actually getting so tall, we're probably gonna end up having to hire a tree service to knock them down, but they're doing great. So we'll just keep seeding sunflowers. Thank you guys for coming along. Till next time, y'all have a blessed day. Bye-bye.